Hello. Today we're going to cover a few simple climbing knots. This episode is not to be missed. First knot is the most basic. It is the overhand safety knot. Take the end, go around the stem, and directly through the hole. Around the other side is you take the end, go around the stem, and through the hole. Simple. The figure 8 knot, which is the fundamental knot for tying a climber in, is very similar in the way you tie it to the overhand safety knot. You start, take the end, go around the stem, but instead of going directly through, go completely around and come in through the other side, like so. And it makes a nice figure 8. You can do it behind the stem and through. You can do it in front of the stem, around and through. Either way works. Some folks complain that, oh, this knot's backwards. It's left-handed, it's right-handed. As a climber, you should be able to handle either direction. The third knot is a variation, again, on the overhand safety knot, and this is called a double overhand. We take the end, we go around the stem like an overhand safety knot, but we go around twice. Finish by threading the end through the 2 loops. The figure 8 is used to tie a climber into the climbing rope using what is called a retraced figure 8. Simply tie a figure 8 like so, and then you thread the end through the harness tie-in points. And then you retrace the knot. In other words, you take the end and you follow it back along the path that it created in the knot. Like so. An overhand safety knot is used to tie the end, ostensibly to keep the end from pulling through should the knot tighten. You tie the overhand safety knot around the whole rope, like so. Just as we tied it by itself. The knot stands on its own. In this case, we simply capture the climbing rope inside that hole with the overhand safety knot. Let me be clear, this is not an overhand safety knot. There is no knot here. It has to go not between this end and the climbing strand. It has to go not this way, but around. And it comes out the same direction as the climbing rope, like so. An overhand safety knot works pretty well in a top rope situation. This will generally not come undone. But in a lead climbing situation, where you're constantly manipulating the rope to clip, this tends to come untied. So, what a lot of people do is they tie a double overhand safety knot. You can use 2 double overhand knots to tie 2 ropes together. This combination of a knot is called the double fisherman's or the grapevine knot. Why would we tie 2 ropes together? You would tie 2 ropes together to thread through an anchor if you wanted to do a rappel that was a full rope length. Begin by facing the ropes in opposite directions. Take the first rope and tie a double overhand around the other rope. Now, notice how this X is angling. It's going this way. So you take the end of the other rope and you follow this direction, tie it around itself again, like so, and then back through both loops. You should get this nice double X on one side. One mistake is sometimes you don't pay attention to the angle of the X and you go around the wrong way. And then you don't get that nice X pairing. You have an X on one side, but the X on the other rope is on the opposite side. Or see how the two X's are opposing each other. You don't want that. If you take a bite in the rope, you can tie an overhand or figure eight with that bite, leaving a clip-in loop coming out of the knot. Figure eights on a bite and overhands on a bite are useful knots for connecting climbers to anchors. Additionally, a figure eight on a bite using a locking carabiner can be attached to a climber. This is useful when putting multiple climbers on a single rope, such as for glacier travel. You can attach a third climber in the middle of the rope between the climbers on each end. Also, a figure eight on a bite tied to the end of the rope attached to a locking carabiner can be used for buddy rescue situations where the climber who needs to clip into the rope does not have the ability to use both hands to tie a retraced figure eight, either because one hand is occupied, frozen from frostbite, or because attaching to the rope is time sensitive.
Yo, Moo Dude! Major bummer. My rope's cut.
No worries, bro Mo. I totally got you.
The last knot we'll tie today is yet another variation on the overhand safety knot. Like the double overhand, the barrel knot is tied by wrapping the end of the rope multiple times around the stem, giving you lots of loops. The barrel knot traditionally uses 3 wraps, but you can use 4, 5, as many as you want. The barrel knot is great if after you've tied in with the retraced figure eight, you have this really long tail and you want to take up some of the slack. You can just use a barrel knot and get rid of that tail. Barrel knots and double overhand knots are particularly good for tying a knot at the end of your rappel rope so that you don't accidentally rappel off the end of your rope. I would not use a single overhand for a stopper knot like this because simple overhands magically tend to untie themselves without provocation, whereas a barrel knot or a double overhand will stay tied at the end of your rope and will serve as an actually effective stopper knot. And remember, if you're rappelling on 2 strands, be sure to put a knot in each end. Thank you for joining Trad Monkey, Belay Moose, and myself on this little knot adventure. Practice these knots, tie them well, and you'll stay off Santa's naughty list. Or would that put you on his naughty list?